Hi guys, this is Mike here, back with another Python Django tutorial for you. Back now after having a period of being a little bit unwell, so I wasn't really able to record a video last week, so apologies for that. But here we are, we're back with a new one here. Now the tutorial we're going to cover this week is mainly going to be the idea of taking some of the modules that we've created before and actually reusing them in a new app. And at the same time, I'm going to take you quickly through the idea of using Twitter Bootstrap along with Django, just to help you create nice appearing apps without having to basically go off and get a designer to make you a website layout. And it's really quite easy to do, and it's worthwhile because then you can create lots of apps that don't necessarily need to have to go to the extent of having been designed by somebody specifically. You can just basically take advantage of the layout properties that you can pull in through Twitter Bootstrap, and also take advantage of a nice Django Bootstrap module, which will help us to manage how things get formatted in a nice easy way. So the first thing we need to do is I'm going to basically show you that I've set up already a brand new project inside of my folders, and I basically called it Twitter Bootstrap, or rather Django Bootstrap is the project with Twitter Bootstrap inside. Or is it the other way around? No, it's Twitter Bootstrap inside the project, and inside of there I've more or less just pulled across some of the code from the old tutorials. Basically I've pulled the article module across. Now before we get to the point of actually talking about this, we need to just make sure that there's a few bits and bobs installed. So just to remind you how to actually install Django, we use pip whilst we're inside the virtual environment. Pip install Django, but as well as that we're going to tack on a few of the other modules that we'll need for this tutorial. So we're going to put south on the end of there, and then Django Bootstrap Toolkit, because that's going to help us just to basically put stuff in order with our code. So once you've run pip install, you should have all those modules installed in there. The next step is just to make sure in the settings module, in our settings.py file, that we've included things. Now before we do that, I think what we'll do is we'll make sure we've got our articles module inside of the right folders too. So I've got two windows open here. This is my old Django code, where I've got my article module originally written, and literally all we need to do is cut and paste that from here into the new projects folder. Once that's done, all the code that went with that article should then be in there. Now what you might find, because obviously this is a tutorial setup, there was lots of dependencies on other modules across here because of the fact that we were linking it all together just to demonstrate points in the past. What you will find is that when you try to run this initially, it may not find some of the modules and requirements that you need. But that shouldn't be the case when you're doing other modules that you've written for yourself. You should write them in a way that they don't depend on other modules. Or if you do, then you pretty much will have to copy those modules as well. So say for instance the article module depends on approvals, then you'd have to copy the approvals module across with you. That being said, I haven't done that. I've simplified things and basically stripped out all the dependencies for here. So now all you get with this is a simple article module like we built right way back at the beginning of the series, with a comment model attached to it, so we can add comments. And it's the version that actually includes the likes system as well. So we've got three different features of that article module still included in there. So now that we've dragged that folder across and getting rid of some of the dependencies, then we're going to need to go into the settings.py file, and that's the settings.py file that's stored in this Twitter Bootstrap folder just under here, and under there we're going to add first of all the South module, just to make sure that we can do our database migrations. We're going to add article in, as we did in previous tutorials, and this time we're also going to include Twitter Bootstrap _ Toolkit, and that then gives us all of the template tags and unique features that this offers us to automatically format stuff inside of our projects. Now, the next step is in our URLs section. We just want to include the articles URLs so that when we actually use the website, we actually know which URL passes to which view within our article system. So, that being done, we're all set up and configured. The main part of the work now is really to take the existing functionality from our previous articles module and just to give it the appearance or the set of HTML structures that will give it the compatibility with Twitter Bootstrap. Now, if I just go to the Twitter Bootstrap's website, as you can see, I've already been doing a little bit of messing around. On the Getting Started page, there's a few examples. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to include the Bootstrap CDN into our base template. Now, this is the style sheet that we need to link, and this is the JavaScript that we need to link. Now, you might understand that we need CSS obviously because of page formatting, but why would we need JavaScript? Well, just to show you what the end product will look like, we're going to have this articles page, and as you can see, we've got all these boxes nicely formatted. However, what you don't know is that when you visit this with a smaller browser window, perhaps similar to maybe if you were using a mobile phone, it automatically reformats the page for you. Now, that's mostly CSS that's done that, but have you noticed the top is different? Now, what happens when I resize this is, as we gradually get wider, it realizes that the page is much wider and alters the actual page structure, or the viewable page structure, so that you have these headings here. If you bring it back again so that it's more or less the same resolution as you get on a mobile phone, you'll notice you get this instead of the menu options here. And what happens is if you click that, you get this nice little expandable menu, and that's all part of the Twitter Bootstrap setup. Now, that's why when we go back to this Getting Started thing, we need to include that JavaScript, because that JavaScript is what helps that to happen. Okay, so in our base HTML, right at the top, just scroll up there, I've included in the header section the CSS, and I've also included right at the bottom, just before the body closure tag, I have included jQuery's link, and also the link to the Bootstrap stuff for the resizing and that menu functionality. Now, the jQuery stuff is basically a dependency that we need so that we can have those nice little smooth animations happening on the page. Okay, now that's us set up to basically make that happen. This little bit of styling here is because, I'll show you this later on in the tutorial, but just to briefly mention, because we have this nav bar at the top, the way that the CSS works is that you need to add a little bit of padding to the top so that this content area doesn't appear underneath the nav bar. And I'll show you how that affects that later. We're just basically going to get ourselves set up so that we can have this page layout work. Okay, so going back to these Getting Started page, we have later in the page a basic template which we've followed so far, and this one basically contains hello world, and then some examples. Now the example I took, if I can just find it, there we are. I took the example of oh no, come back, there we go, the off canvas example. And what I did was I basically came to this page and looked at the source, which you can look at here, and it comes with a set of structure that we can literally cut and paste out and straight into our base template, which you can see I've done there, and that will basically give us the structure for this top nav bar. Then you'll notice that I've changed a few things. The first thing I've changed is the nav bar brand. I've put the text in for our app in there, but also in the links section on our view page source, it starts off with the examples of home and about and contact. We don't want that. We literally just want a home and a new button in the top. Now, instead of creating hyperlinks using the actual paths, I'm now using this URL template tag, and what I do is I pass in a string that basically tells it where to find this view. So in the articles module, views file, articles, and again for the new I've used the URL to basically track what the actual proper URL would be for that. And that's a nice little feature that basically lets us offload the responsibility onto Django to work out what it is that URL should be. We know where it is inside of our modules as a coder or a programmer, but we want Django to work out where it is in terms of URLs. So you can see there in the bottom left hand corner that equates to articles create in the URL system, and that equates to articles all. So Django's figured that out for us instead of us having to do the work. We just basically say we want this view out of that module, and you can work out what the URL should be. So that's our nav bar done. The next bit, because we're inside of the base HTML, which is the main template for the whole site, we're just going to put the content block just here, and we've wrapped it inside of a div with a class called container. Now class container is basically saying this should also have the Bootstrap format, and this is the section that more or less encapsulates this whole page, which gives us this alignment on the left hand side, but then also stops the page going off into the right hand margin. So this is basically giving us this central layout inside of the page, and that's all we need to do for our base HTML. The rest of the work really comes in terms of just making sure that our articles page is correct. So we're going to alter our articles page, we're going to alter our article page, which basically shows one article's details, and as you can see on here we have a summarized version of the article, and then when we click that view details, that should take us through. So let's just have a look at how this is formatted to use the Bootstrap. On the articles page, we've got a very similar setup to what we had in the original articles HTML. The only thing that's really different is that I've chopped out a bit of stuff from the top here, and also I've dropped in this Jumbotron title, and what that does is it gives you this massive big grey area with the increased font size for that. So it gives you a stylized heading for your page. The only bits that I've really redone are the bits that go inside the for article in articles for loop. What I've done is I've taken the header, title, and the body and shortened it. Then I've taken the likes and applied a little bit of HTML to it just to show it in small. And then I've used the button default classes from Bootstrap to define the URL link through to the to view details button. So this bit here is literally an HTML link, a hyperlink, but it's got the styling from Twitter Bootstrap. And again, I've used the URL template tag, which is in Django by default, and I've said this links through to the article views article method, and then I've passed in the article ID as another parameter to the URL template tag, and that forms for us the URL articles get /4, which is down in the bottom left hand corner there. If I hover over some of the others, you can see it's done the same for all of those. So this URL template tags turned out to be pretty handy, and it's making things a lot more logical and a lot more manageable for us in terms of us knowing how things work. So that's more or less what we've done with the contents. Other than that, we've wrapped it in a div with these classes. So we've got col6, col sm6, and col lg4, and they will basically give us the equivalent of what these boxes on here give us. So we're basically stealing the formatting from there, and in HTML they turn out to be this here. So I've literally just cut and pasted all of that out and inserted our embedded Django commands, and then ended up with the contents in there. Now I think I would also like to shorten or not shorten rather what's inside of there, and leave the lower filter on so that it all gets put into lowercase, but I think that's fine for that. And the only thing to add to that is that I've applied that div formatting to the none to show message that we had in the previous tutorial. Right, so that's how our articles get displayed. So we should see stuff happening there. The next thing to do, just check. Actually, let's just turn on the server, and then we can quickly view that. So we want manage.py run server. Okay, so there you go. So that's the formatting with formatting removed. The next section is basically to deal with what happens when you do this. And as you can see, we've got the title, the body, we've got a like button now instead of a like link. That's been styled by the Bootstrap, and also an add comment button, which has also been styled by the Bootstrap. So how did we do that? In our article template, we've gone in, and just after the block content, we've added in a div that says col md8, and that will give us the layout that we get here. So it's a certain width, it doesn't get any wider than that. So we've already formatted our paragraphs quite nicely. Then obviously we've got the same stuff as we had last time. I haven't even bothered to change the links here, but we could do if we wanted to do that. We could link through to the like URL, and that's pretty much it, other than on the actual link to the like button, I've added these classes. So I've just added CSS classes. So this is button XS, button success. and that is what we give that formatting to. Hence we have a little like button. For the delete button, I've used button, button excess, button danger. Hence we get a nice red delete button. Now you can't actually see the comment on there because I haven't added it yet, but let's just quickly add a comment. Mike about blah 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 blah, post the comment. There you go. So now you can see the delete button there, which has that formatting. And then in the final thing we've done is in our add comment link at the bottom, which just gives us this button here, we've used button primary. So literally it's just a matter of applying the classes that come along with Bootstrap and taking advantage of some of that. Now that's all very nice and well, but what happens when you come to formatting forms? Well, for instance, if we add a comment, or have a look at the add a comment form, we've got, instead of form as P, we've got form as Bootstrap. Now how can we do that? Well, because just after our extends section we've loaded the Bootstrap Toolkit. Now this is where it starts to get it gets a bit more obvious why we need a Bootstrap module for Django, because it's all very nice and well us dropping in CSS classes into our HTML. We don't really need a module to help us do that. What we do need a module for is to help us to do automatic formatting of forms and that sort of thing. So that's where it really comes in handy. And there's a few other features inside of the Bootstrap module that I'd advise you to go and have a good look around. You might find something really, really useful. For me, this is just, this is amazing, because not having to code every little item on a form is a major improvement, because one of my personal hates is formatting forms, and if anything that helps me to do that much easier is absolutely brilliant. So that's literally all we've done. Form as Bootstrap, so that will have formatted all of the items within there that are to be shown in the Bootstrap fashion, and the only thing we have to do then is add in, instead of a link, an input for submit, we put a button type submit with some CSS on it just to post the comment. So add comment, and we get nicely laid out formatted pages with a nice decent looking post comment button on there. Okay, so we've got that also on the create article. As you can see, very much simplified it. All we did is load the template tags and then use that to format our form, and then made sure we had a formatted button at the bottom just to complete the design. So when we click this new button at the top, you can see the link at the bottom left hand corner says article create. There we go, everything's formatted nicely. And as you can see, the more you add, in fact I'll add some more here. I'll just quickly take some lorem ipsum off this page and we'll quickly add an item in. Item 5. Lorem ipsum, quick date. There you go. So the more we go, the more it knows how to format everything into nice columns. If we change this page layout, it automatically readjusts everything for us. So there we have a Django website that is automatically compatible with desktop and mobile devices. Okay, that's pretty much the end of this tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope that you learned some interesting information that will help you in your future. If you did, then please click the like button, and if you'd like to know more about tutorials in the series, please click the subscribe button and we'll let you know as soon as there's a new one available. Thanks for watching.